Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. This is Egberto Willies. We are going to have a great show for you today. Since we are a bit late in starting because of my microphone screw up, and yeah, that was my entire screw up, I'm here to say, here is the deal, folks. Here is the deal. The title of the show today is Centrists Supporting Progressives, Electing Women and Community Activism, Racial Sensitivity. It's a great show. It all involves people that I interviewed at Netroots Nation. These are some insightful folk from the young to the middle age to my age. Okay, so we're doing fine. Okay, today, WBAI, Julianna Forlano talks centrists and progressives. Robin Wilt talks electing women. Barbara Nelson on race. And Najee Richardson on activism. We talk about several topics, including electing women, centrists supporting progressives, activism, and racial sensitivity. Today, we will run 4 more interviews that I performed at Netroots Nation 2019. The idea is that many of the great work these activists and politicians are doing too often go unnoticed by our mainstream media. Too often. That is the classic reason why independent media is so important. We fill an important space, one that actually changes minds and empowers at the grassroots level. And let me tell you, stay in power, real political change occurs at the grassroots level. You know, if you notice, Tom Steyer is on TV. It's the billionaire that is running. He wanted to be the Democratic nominee, and he wants to impeach Donald Trump. And he's coming on TV and he's telling people, you need to go for me because I am experienced. I formed a company. But you know what his company did? His company just moved paper. Sold companies, bought companies, really didn't do anything. He is one of the guys that we speak about, the folks that are progressives that understand that we believe in free enterprise. We believe that people should go out there and be able to succeed. We believe that. We believe you should have the freedom to do all of that. But you have these guys that use paper to just exchange papers and companies. And you that work for the corporation, you are just a pawn. You are just a checker. And they decide, I'm going to sell the company. Maybe some of you lose your jobs. Maybe some don't. Maybe we consolidate. That's what and he became a billionaire doing that, and he has the nerve to talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a crook, but Donald Trump also did something of value in selling real estate. Yeah, he's bloviated a whole lot, but he sells something. I mean, hey, look, let me tell you something, folks. Grassroots is where it is at. If you are a grassroots performer, if you are a person who's doing those things at the grassroots level, come on Politics Done Right. If you have a story to tell, if you have something that you want exposed, if you are working with people, and when I say people, I mean if you're really honestly working to make a change, let's get busy. If you're in the vicinity, in Houston or the surrounding areas, and you need visibility, and you want a program made around something that you're doing, contact, who are we? Politics Done Right. If you want all these things, you contact us. If you're in another state and you want some sort of a production made with something that you're doing, you want coverage on that, and you can't get it. Nobody thinks you're important enough. Contact Politics Done Right. Fly us out there. We'll be there. Because what we want to do is to make sure that everybody who's doing something gets the notice, that they deserve. That is what we have to do, folks. That is what we will do, folks. That is what we must do. And since we got started, I had to go ahead and try to get this other thing queued up, because one of the problems that you have when you have a huge drop off when you just started your program is the way the Facebook algorithms work. If your program doesn't catch on immediately, they throttle you away. I don't know how it works, but it doesn't give much credence. So if you're listening now, folks, please go ahead and share these programs. It is imperative that we have people that are getting this data, that's getting this information, that knows what's going on. But like I've said, anybody who's doing anything you know is of value, contact us. We will make sure to get that stuff out. That is our promise to you all. So please make sure to do that. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with the interviews that we did. So I want you to stick around because they're pretty good. The first one is with Barbara. And Barbara became a friend of mine at Netroots, and it was interesting, the conversation that we had, and it was a very interesting conversation we had. And after we had the conversation, I said, you know what? I need to put you behind this camera because America needs to hear what just occurred between you and I. So here we go. I'm about to start that. Right now, here is Barbara Nelson. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. You guys know that I do a whole lot of politics, and sometimes things that are a little bit on the not so politics side, and this is one of those that we're going to do right now. And it started this way. Barbara came over to the table to get one of the my as I see it books, and afterwards she said we were talking some politics, and she said she wanted to talk about two women, and she said sort of hesitantly, I hope this is okay, one is a black woman, one is a white woman. And I looked at her and with a sort of an eye, and I said, why did you think you have to say that? And she said,
you know, when you're just meeting someone and you don't know where they're coming from and they don't know my story, as a white person and the privilege I enjoy, I try to be respectful and be mindful of the language I use, and I know how important it is and that it does matter how we say things. So I was trying to be polite. Egberto and I just met as volunteers here at Netroots yesterday, and I think it's important, especially in the white community, to be more mindful of the language you use, how you approach things, and understand that your way of doing it is not the center of the world, as we are often brought up. I was also brought up in a very racist household, so I try to be very mindful that things that I grew up thinking of as acceptable or the norm, that they're not.
Right.
And it's a process.
No, the only thing that I had with it though is that in our way of talking to people, right? And like I told you, I'm black, Caribbean, and Latino all at once, which gives me a certain sort of sexism and past sexism and past homophobia. And I called myself a recovered sexist, recovered homophobe, because I know for a fact now that I don't, that I've extricated those sort of bad habits or bad whatever they are. And what I would hope for that later on, that we don't have to, depending on who we're talking to, really sort of hold back or have to be self-censoring too much, because I think it hurts the conversation. I think it hurts the ability to communicate if we're too concerned about, well, actually, in the case that why I wanted to talk about this on air, it was Stacey Abrams is black and Stacey, I don't remember her other name, is white.
Yeah.
And that is the only way that we could have.
How do you end up with two women named Stacey both running for governor of a state?
Right.
I don't think that was a pretty odd coincidence by any political measure. And trying to discuss their respective races. They both spoke at Netroots Nation 2 years ago in Atlanta. And it was especially in that literally while we were in Atlanta was when the events of Charlottesville happened.
In fact, we had a big march on that.
Yeah, and you know, Netroots people did a march, but I was sitting in the Martin Luther King Museum reflecting on what was going on and thinking,
it's too long.
Yeah,
it's too long.
Yeah.
But look, I think some of what concerned me, you found in a statement that I'd love for you to read to our audience, because I think that statement encapsulates some of the things that I hope are where we can go.
So I have to give a shout out. I did a recent service at my UU congregation in Fullerton in Southern California with Chris Kraus, who is an amazing organizer, organizing white people for racial justice. And in the most simplest way he presents is you don't need to talk to black and brown people about racism. They live it every day.
Right.
You need to go talk to white people about it and convince them that it's not good for them either, and to work on it. And the quote we used to open the service, people are opting out of vital conversations about diversity and inclusivity because they fear looking wrong, saying something wrong, or being wrong. Choosing our own comfort over hard conversations is the epitome of privilege, and it corrodes trust and moves us away from meaningful and lasting change. This is Brene Brown in Dare to Lead, Brave Work, Tough Conversations, Whole Hearts. She is noted as her TED Talk is one of the 5 most watched TED Talks on the planet, literally. Right. It's amazing. She's a pretty amazing person, and this is
what she said. Well, Barbara
does that. So.
Barbara Nelson, I appreciate you bringing this up, because I think one of the important parts of these conferences is for us to be open, for us to be able to hit the things that people need to hit on, right? Because if we're going to really make change, it has to start somewhere.
And I think it's important. I have made some great friendships here with persons of color that I can turn to and get the hard questions answered and ask candid questions and say, hey, so what is the deal with this? Or tell me, you know, where they're coming from. And it's invaluable. So it's been a great part of this.
Barbara Nelson, thank you so kindly for being on Politics Done Right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
I love that woman. Let me tell you something. What is so important there? It is, you know, you sit at a table, and I'm on Radio Row, and I'm talking to a whole lot of people, and you know, you have all kinds of people coming from all nationalities, races, all of that, you know. But she made an impression on me because she was trying to be so politically correct in the discourse that we had. I mean, most of the people around there, you know, they were just, you know, people throw things out or whatever. Some people are insensitive, some people are sensitive, some people make, you know, I mean, but it is all natural in the liberal speaks, if you will. But when she came along, I could see the discomfort when she wanted to tell me that, well, you know, we were talking about Stacey Abrams and so forth, and she wanted to talk about, oh, well, you know, it's a black woman or the white. Folks, let me tell you something. Color and seeing colors is a normal thing. And, you know, we have to get over that, you know. We need to get over that altogether. But the next person I want to bring in, however, is talking about getting women elected. And she runs an organization that does exactly that. I tell you what, let's go ahead and go to her and let her go ahead and do the speaking for herself. Her name is Robin Wilt. I went to a workers' meeting today, and there is one woman in there that made a comment. And when she made that comment, I said, you know what? She has to appear on Politics Done Right, because she has some very important, very prescient information for all candidates, but specifically for women candidates. I'm with Robin Wilt of Woke Pack. Robin, it is a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Egberto.
Absolutely, but please, first of all, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I am from Rochester, New York. I grew up there. I am the first generation daughter of immigrants from Guyana.
Okay.
And I have 4 siblings. I currently serve on the town board of Brighton, New York.
Right.
That's outside of Rochester. And I did run for elected office last year, again, a higher office. I ran for Congressional District 25 in New York.
Right.
And in the wake of that is when I established the WOPE PAC, which is the Women of Color Electoral PAC.
Right.
And what we do is, we're an economic justice system within this broader picture of funding electoral campaigns, because a lot of candidates for office, especially currently, are not equipped with the same tools as the establishment candidates, and they're challenging a lot of cases. In particular, underrepresented communities of color, do not have access to the same resources, do not have access to the same electoral knowledge or base of voters, and so this is an attempt to level that playing field.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier that there is a prototypical candidate that people think there is, but in reality it is a myth.
That's
Why don't you
correct.
expand on that? Because what happens is, I think a lot of women are not getting into the fold. A lot of people that think they don't have the resources are not getting into the fold, and that leaves us with a politics that is quite
it's not representative.
Exactly.
It's not representative.
Right.
And that was one of my arguments for being on the town board in the first place. You know, on our town board, and this is in a progressive town that, you know, highly touts its progressive values.
Right.
And they say that they value education, they value diversity, they value sustainability, yet we had 5 white males serving on the town board. And so when there was an opening on the board, that's when I made my case for office.
Right.
And I think we are often not reflected in the leadership. And so we don't have, you know, people don't consider it an option. They don't see themselves reflected, and so they don't pursue elective office.
Right.
When really our perspectives are very valuable. And we saw that in the case of Ayanna Pressley, in fact.
Right, absolutely so.
And she said those who are closest to the pain need to be closest to the power.
Right.
And what she meant by that is that, you know, stakeholders in the community, those who are dealing most directly with the issues, dealing most directly with the impact of our policy, need to be the ones at the table.
Right. You know, it's interesting because I was at a Daily Coast meeting just after the panel that we were on, and I spoke. Maurice Mitchell of the Working's Family Party was there, and that is what he tried to illustrate. Right now, we watch TV and we see the people discussing politics at this high level. The people the people that are furthest away from the problems, discussing how to solve the problems. And I think what you're trying to articulate here is the people closest to the problems are the ones who should be the representatives.
Absolutely. They are the ones who should be at the table of power crafting those policies.
Right.
And we don't see enough of it. Obviously, in Congress, we're only about between 9 and 10% women of color.
Right.
And, you know, we've seen the result of that in our communities. That's why we see these disparities in our communities, because policy is not crafted with our priorities in mind. And so the WOPE PAC is essentially about electoral empowerment for underrepresented
Before I ask you to tell a little bit more about WOPE PAC specifically and tell people how to engage with it, there's this thing called the electability factor. Why don't you bust that myth for me with some new research that has emerged?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that when women do run, I think the biggest problem is recruiting women to run, because it is an inhumane process seeking office, and a lot of us play many different roles. You know, we're community activists, we're mothers, we're daughters. We play a lot of roles within our families and our communities, and it requires sacrifice to run for office. And so I think that's one of the reasons we don't see women seeking elected office. But we know that when women do run, when they overcome that obstacle and do put their hat in the ring, they win at the same levels as men. So,
and there is the data out
Yes.
to say that now.
Yes,
In other words,
absolutely.
if women run, women win at the same rate as anybody else.
yes, yes.
So there's no reason.
Yes, there's no reason to suggest. And I am actually in a predominantly white community.
Right.
My community is 86% black. So, it's not to say that we should only be running in
Right.
communities where we are the overwhelming majority.
Right.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg famously said, when people said, well, how many women on the Supreme Court will it take for you to be happy?
Right.
And she said, when there are 9. Because for decades there were 9 men and nobody said anything.
And nobody said, it's amazing, isn't
Right,
it?
right.
It's like missing the norm. Okay, so Robin, tell us a little bit about Woke Pack and what you're going to do for the listeners here who decide that they've seen you, you've inspired them, and now they want to run.
Okay, so in underrepresented communities, I think the running for office can be really daunting because we're not necessarily engaged in the process. We don't necessarily have a foot in the door already. I know in my Democratic committee, it is predominantly white, overwhelmingly so. I'm one of a few black faces there, and so learning that process, it can in and of itself be daunting. So we provide infrastructure, we provide knowledge, institutional knowledge, and we provide the resources, monetary resources, in order to seek office. Because I think when you're recruited to run for office, one of the first things that whoever recruited you would tell you is that you need money. Come back when you've raised X amount of money.
Right.
And so this is a resource for people to get that early nest egg. And just like in the case of Emily's list, early money is like yeast. We try to provide those resources to women of color who are seeking office and challenge in that regard.
Robin, again, tell people how they can connect with you directly.
You can connect with me on wokepack.com. That's WOKE, women of color with a K, electoralpack.com. So wokepack.com, and you can find us there.
Robin Wilt, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and you get the job done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, that was Robin. We had a great time. Now she's working towards getting women elected, which is a daunting task in its own right. Now, before I go to the other video, which is Najee Richardson. Najee is a community activist, and he's out there trying to get young people, and specifically working in the inner cities. He's been trying to get people acclimated to politics, which is something that I think is so necessary. So one of the reasons I wanted to bring him on is to just tell him, some of his friends are going to already saw his videos, and other people are going to see it. We want people to see it. But before I get there, I want to touch on the subject of Medicare for All, because I read something on Daily Kos today that I think you guys need to hear. It says, Democratic voters now more likely to support a candidate who backs Medicare for All. And my statement to that is, what took so long? And it goes as follows. As Democratic voters have been getting more used to the idea of Medicare for All and finding out more about it, presumably, it has been growing in popularity. In at least one survey, Morning Consult has found that among Democratic voters, net support, the share of those who said that attitude would make them more likely to back a candidate, minus the share who said they would be less likely, grew from 35 points to 52 points in the latest poll. When you look at the actual candidates, however, apart from that issue, Joe Biden still leads in the national polling, which is causing many to think that the safe, moderate choice is what Democrats need to go with. Now, and it's a big but, as Daily Kos Carrie Ellerfield wrote, these national polls don't tell the whole story. They are certainly not predictive of the outcome of actual primary caucusing and voting. looking deeper into the aggregate of polling and the candidates' approval ratings, there are 5 candidates still strong in the mix, and all but Biden and Pete Buttigieg have plans to go beyond adding upon the current system to varying degrees. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris all envision Medicare for all with varying paths for how to get to that end goal. It turns out the Democratic voters are getting the hang of that and seem to be getting much more comfortable with it. The primaries aren't going to be decided on healthcare alone, nor is a general election, but the narrative that Medicare for all is some crazy far-out socialist notion is going to fly with Democratic voters. The other thing that this stuff doesn't tell you is Biden stands alone. So when you see Biden alone out there with 34 points and the sum total of Warren, Sanders, Harris is over 50%, it tells you already that Biden cannot, I repeat, Biden cannot win the nomination. Even at a brokered convention, Biden cannot win the nomination because folks are not going to coalesce. The progressive base will not coalesce around Biden, and most of the people that are centrist are all not going to coalesce around Biden. So, it's good. I saw Biden answering some questions today, and I am so sorry to say this, and I am so sorry to sound ageist, but he looked so aged. And it's not only that he looked aged, he just looks like this isn't somebody that can stand up and last 4 years. And even if they say, well, he's going to get a vice president that will be the holder until he leaves in 4 years, that's not what we want. We have a huge agenda to run on that, in my humble opinion, only Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren has the gravitas to pull through because they know what they're talking about. That said, I had a friend yesterday, and this was, I love the guy, but it was extremely disappointing. It was extraordinarily disappointing because you have to examine the soul of people that do not see through the morass. You have to examine through the morass. And it goes in this manner. He's older. He gets Medicare for all of Medicare, but the Medicare that he and his friends get, these older folk, isn't the Medicare that we who are supporting Medicare for all is all about. So his statement, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, was, "Do you know why older folks don't really go in for Medicare for all?" I then asked why. And he said, well, and he gave examples as far as people who have had problems with current Medicare. Granted, it's not perfect, the current Medicare, and we know about donut holes, we know about all these other things. But we also know that there's something called Medicare Advantage, which costs 20% more. So your tax dollar is paying 20% more so that the person who's the corporation who's given Medicare Advantage can make more money. So it's a transfer of wealth directly from the taxpayer to that company giving people Medicare, Medicare Advantage. But people love Medicare for Advantage because they get membership to clubs and all of that, and they get treated in a completely insular unit. Look, regular Medicare could do that as well. That's nothing special that Medicare Advantage is doing. They just happen to do that, and the government-run program, they just happen not to do it. We as voters, we could tell them, we want you to do that as well, and it would cost you a hell of a lot less than going through the private thing. But here's the kicker. My good friend says, we don't like it because, again, we don't even think that the government, when it's time to start cutting, they're going to cut the Medicare for all anyway, and then it's going to get worse and worse anyway. And my rationale is, first of all, Medicare is in the state that it is in because the corporations, as it is, they don't want to pay the taxes that they owe. You know, there's a special tax for Medicare, but they also get around other tax. They don't want to pay those taxes. So the baby boomer generation and older, they have supported tax policies that screwed Medicare. And then now that Medicare has issues solving these problems, they say, well, we have problems because Medicare doesn't want to cover this and that. Well, you supported the policies that screwed Medicare. We are trying with Medicare for All to fix those policies. And for you to say that, well, we don't like Medicare right now and it may get worse, is disingenuous, if not selfish. Because, again, there's another statement that really got to me, and the statement was, well, one of the reasons also we are not really all into it, and I'm just paraphrasing, is because we don't have skin in the game anyway. In other words, no matter what, they are going to have their Medicare. Screw the rest of you. To which I replied and I said, be careful. Be real careful. Because those of us that are the younger folk, a bit younger, who will be running the country, who are running the country, may take that tack as well. All the older folk that want to say, well, we don't have a stake in the game, we may say, okay, well, now the game is ours. And since you had done that then, we are going to do this now. Until we start realizing that we are in this together, old, young, everybody else in between, we are going to fail. But what we have now is everybody individualizing themselves, trying to take more than the other, being selfish, whether you're an executive of a corporation wanting to make so much more than the person that's making the money for you, whether you are some sort of an investment banker who doesn't care about the employees that are going to lose if you decide to screw with the way the papers or the stock work. It is so dangerous, because what happens then is if we get into this model that says, okay, that doesn't affect me. Oh, it affects you? Well, tough luck. And what I will always preach is we're in this together. So to my friend, and he's a good friend, when we take control, I will be looking out for you. Even as you, out of your own words, said that we cannot depend on you to look out for us. I will still do the honorable thing, the moral thing, and look out for you. Too many people in corporate America have learned and are diseased. And when I say they're diseased, that's exactly what I mean. It's an illness. It's not incurable, but it's an illness. It's a me illness. It's an illness that says as long as I'm doing great, it is okay. It's a disease. And it is taught in schools. And the Powell Manifesto ensured that it was taught in business colleges. The Wharton College at the University of Texas, Walton College at the University of Texas, and all these other colleges around the country. They were able to make selfish robe. They were able to make selfish vogue. Okay, it is okay to be selfish. And then when we talk about Donald Trump not being the problem, Donald Trump is the result of a problem. As we taught Americans how to be selfish, as we taught Americans how it is okay to hate your neighbor, as we taught Americans all these things, it is okay to look down at other people. We taught Americans those things. And in teaching them that, we got Donald Trump, because he's the manifestation. Donald Trump is the manifestation of what we have taught Americans. And those that are on my page complaining sometimes when they talk about, oh, you're a social. No, it's not that I'm a socialist. I'm a moral person. I'm a human person. I think about others, including those that are against what we are trying to accomplish. Because what we are trying to accomplish doesn't only cover us progressives, us good progressives. It covers us all. But again, we were taught. We made selfish vogue. We made evil vogue. Don't forget it and reinvigorate yourself. One of the biggest promoters of hate, the biggest promoters of evil is the evangelical church. But we're going to get them in check. We will get them in check, because they will be falling off the bandwagon as the younger kids, as they're seeing right now. That's why they can't recruit. That is why they can't recruit. because they have become what they claim they shouldn't. And Mr. Lado Egberto has just declared himself the paragon of virtue as a humanist. From where do you get this superior notion of morality? You sound like a buffoon. Maybe I'm a buffoon, Mr. Lado. I hope that characterization is only talking about the intellectual nature of this conversation. Okay, folks, thank you so kindly for listening. We have another video. This is the young man that's working in the community, and I wanted to feature him. And the reason I wanted to feature this man is because I want more young people to be doing what he is doing. We need other young people to be doing what he's doing. So listen to it, and then we'll be right back, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I want to give a errata to some people. Earlier today, we had about 13 or 14 broadcasts that made it onto YouTube, but for some reason, not for some reason, because I had a password change, it didn't make it onto Facebook. I'm uploading those later on today, but they are currently available at YouTube. I'm here with Najee Richardson, who is with Pennsylvania Student Power Network. Yes. He came and he stopped by at the table, and I like to see young people engaged, and I think what we ought to do as a people is uplift those who are doing something positive in society. So when he told, all he had to say is, I'm with Student Power, and all I had to say was, then I want to talk to you. Mr. Richardson, it's a pleasure to be with you. First of all, tell me what it is that you are, a little bit about what you do with, first of all, tell me what Pennsylvania Student Power Network is in your words.
Pennsylvania Student Power Network is a network that allows students in the area, mainly PA, all around PA, Allentown, Philly area, Lehigh Valley, to really get involved with the community, to really tackle issues that are really seen that should be more broader, like mass incarceration, college for all, free tuition, decarceration, and really just tackling these issues, trying to be in the city, talking to people more, trying to really engage with younger people who actually deal with life, issues. I know for myself personally, the issue on mass incarceration, it's a personal thing, because I have an older brother and he's currently doing some time. But I feel as if the issue with incarceration is actually going to help, bringing him home and bringing people just like him who were wrongfully convicted back home into, good arms.
Right. Now, when you, how did you get involved with this?
I got involved through a couple friends, actually. I go to East Stroudsburg University, right. And my Office of Multicultural Affairs director, she had brought this idea up to me because she knew that I actually wanted to be involved more with, Philly issues and Philly networking. So she had sent me the link, and from there it was history.
So you just decided to. Now, I mean, one of the things that we have with young people, and I hate to say this, is that they are, many times they don't engage as they should. And we think a lot of things would be better in society if more of you were engaging. Earlier, when I just got here, the Uber driver that brought me here was a young woman, and we had the conversation that she said, well, I'm really not into politics, but now that Trump is here, I'm into politics now. My question to you is that your same feeling too, that the reason you got into politics was because of Trump, or you got into politics because you saw a need for doing this?
I saw a need for it. I saw, as I was young, around the time Trayvon Martin had got killed. I really kind of started then, thinking, what can we do as young people, young people of color, to really, establish the fact that we're here, that we have a voice, that we're tired of, just living. We have to live for a purpose.
Right.
We have to live for each other and start, being in harmony and unity with each other.
Right.
So from that point on, Black Lives Matter sprouted up. I really felt, okay, it's that time. I'm like 14, 15 years old, not really knowing much, but I know that something has to change.
Right.
So, from that point, I was like, okay, I feel I have a voice and I want somebody to hear it.
And that is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because I think people need to see young men out there from a positive perspective, from a perspective that is saying,
I want to do something for my community. I want to do something for society. Because many times they see young men, especially young black men or young Latino men, as just guys out there. I want to promote. I want to see that men who are doing what you are doing are highlighted. In other words, you don't have to be a rapper. You don't have to be any of these things. I don't know. I mean, you're probably a rapper too. I don't know, hell. But you can excel at something other than just rapping. Rapping is cool. Rapping is cool.
Hey.
But what, it's cool, man. But what I'm saying,
you want to do something other than being that. I guess in a way like that stereotypical role. Making it out the neighborhood. Having to just play basketball, having to just play sport, having to just do music. I feel like we have to use our voices and our minds. Right. Really start reading. Start talking to our friends more about these issues.
Now, what do you intend to do going forward?
Going forward, I kind of want to be more of like a beacon of light to the younger kids in my community. I want to show them that it is possible. It is possible, and that there's people that look just like you, that have the same issues, that went through the same things, that really feel the same, struggle. They feel that burden on their shoulders, and I kind of want to show them that it's possible to make it out and actually use your voice rather than your hands, and using violence.
Well, brother, if you're speaking that way, you are going to do it. So just you make sure to go out there and do what you're doing, all right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you so kindly for giving me the interview.
That was Rajiv. Let me tell you, I enjoyed speaking to that young man, and even after he left, the thing I kept on just thinking, wow, if we could just get a whole lot of guys like that out there in the community, because these different communities all over the country, need folk who decide that they're going to express an interest in making lives better for a whole lot of other people. Now, this last one I'm going to, because it's a bit longer. This one is with Julianna Forlano, who is a host of a morning show in New York that I've been on a couple of times. A friend of mine for several years now. She's going to talk about the Democratic Party. She has quite a bit to say. So without any further ado, let's go to Julianna Forlano. Welcome to Politics Done Right. And once again, we are here with Julianna Forlano from our sister station WBAI in
New
York. And what's the name of your show again?
Waking Up with Julianna Forlano and King Downing.
Absolutely so. And that was a show that I've been on before.
You were one of our very first guests.
Can you believe it?
I can.
But anyhow, Julianna, you had made a promise to me a few months ago that you were going to start this little thing that turned into a big thing, where you were on screen with a green background and used to tell some great stories. What was the name of that show
that
again?
was Absurdity Today. Absurdity Today.
It didn't. I've been searching the internet for Absurdity Today, and I can't find but the old ones.
Yeah, that's all we have right now. The old ones. We're the archives. We're in syndication.
You're in syndication in the archives. I tell you. Anyhow,
we really need some humor. Especially right now.
Especially now, and we always depended on Julianna Forlano. In fact, right here at Netroots Nation, she had her own gig that she was doing on stage, and people would come. The thousands of people that come to Netroots would come out to see whom?
Me.
Julianna Forlano.
That's right. We did the Laughing Liberally comedy show, which we do every year at Netroots Nation. And Laughing Liberally is all over the country, but definitely in New York. And I think we're going to be popping up soon. So maybe you'll have some actual stand-up content to play.
Were you there last night then at Laughing Liberally?
Absolutely.
Okay, good for you. I had to do some DK, so what can I say? Right, to work. But anyhow, Julianna, 2020 is coming. The next time I probably see you is going to be at Netroots 2020.
Well, I don't know if I'm great with prognostications, but I do have a prescription. It's a little slightly different.
You scare me with a prescription.
Okay, this is what I'm saying.
Based on your company history and business type, you're qualified for an unsecured loan up to $95,000. Good credit.
And I am saying it's about time that the center people get on board with whoever we pick from the progressive side.
Oh, wow.
They are not going to vote. The centrist people are waking up. like my show's name, just saying, waking up to the fact that
She's
Trump...
putting a plug in for her show on Politics Done Right, which is perfectly what It's Politics Done Right is all about.
Exactly. People need to... I think that the centrists didn't realize the precarious positions we were in. And if Hillary Clinton had gotten in, which would have been a better world, they would not have woken up to some of the things that people are waking up to that the Republicans are doing. So many more people, look at the Women's March, so many more people are politically active now, and I don't think they would have exited their slumber. They would have said, Hillary's got it, we're fine, don't worry about it, and we would not have this uprising of political consciousness that we have today. So right now is the time that Democrats need to seize the moment, get a left candidate. I'm saying Warren would be great, Bernie would be great, and on down from the left from there. I'm not sure who's next.
But
Kamala?
we want to left candidate. Yeah, but you know what is good? I think you just gave a very positive notion because you're saying there is a good reason to have had Trump. You know, I was thinking you're right. Trump has just been an expansion of what has been done by these folks all the time, and we needed him to really see what we
I hate that it had to come, like in recovery circles, they say you have to hit a bottom before you can come up, and I'm hoping this is the bottom. We need to pop up from this. This is crazy.
How much lower can we go?
Well, another 8 years of Trump if he decides to just destroy democracy and crown himself the king, or maybe Jared Kushner's going to run after this, or God forbid Mike Pence. We could go low.
Oh, you know what? Give us a positive.
I don't want to scare you. I gave you something happy, now I'm terrified.
Come on, Juliana, you got to tell us something positive now, because you remember, you make us smile. That is what you do. You give hard news while we're smiling. So give me something hard to smile.
That is the thing that I do try to do.
Yes.
Well, the thing that's good news is that really voter mobilization is one of the major things that we can do. And we're seeing that happening, especially with the more progressive candidates, where they have a young base. AOC won by going and knocking on doors and getting people who don't vote to vote, and she is top dog now.
And there's a woman named Caban who is trying to
Tiffany
hold
Caban,
on right
by
now.
14 votes.
Is she still up or down?
She's down by 14 votes. Tell me your vote doesn't count.
Oh, your vote does count, but I don't even believe that. I want them to go and recount those votes.
They're doing a recount. Still, the 14 vote margin is standing. I personally cannot imagine that is a valid number, given the fact that the entire Democratic machine is behind the other candidate. And Tiffany Caban, she's not a prosecutor. She would be a DA that comes from, a defense, criminal defense.
The people.
Yeah, so God forbid we should have that. But Queens, I'm from New York, right? So Queens is looking like ground zero for progressive politics. They've got AOC as part of, from the Bronx, but also part of Queens. Tiffany Caban was pretty much elected.
Right. Even if they don't, she doesn't pull it through. Look at what it means.
Exactly. I really hope she pulls it through, though.
I think she will. So anyway, what's up with you before we go on our last minute here? Tell me what are your plans going forward?
Well, we're starting to resurrect some of the. So thank you for asking about the comedy segments.
Yes.
I've been doing the news show for the last 6 months at 7 o'clock in the morning, Eastern, on WBAI. You can listen on WBAI.org. Also, or
good station, KPFT sister station.
We're sister station in New York City.
Yes,
and so we're resurrecting some of those comedy segments too. They'll be played within the context of that show. But also, if you follow me on YouTube, Twitter, you'll see they'll be coming up. Maybe I can send them to you. You can play them on your show.
I surely will.
That'll be fun.
You send them to me, they'll get their play, and they'll get that little meme underneath there to the Julianna Forlano.
I want to know what can I switch it? Ask you a question on your own show?
You can ask me anything you want to ask.
Two people who usually do interviews sitting with each other.
Imagine that.
It's almost natural to re-ask.
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's talk about the importance of the Pacifica Network in this age. We are the only independent network.
It is so important. You just have to watch TV today and see what you don't see on TV to know why you need us. There are a lot of material that I cover on KPFT that people would say, I never heard that before. Or there would be an angle, Juliana, that we would take, and we'll say, but did you realize X, Y, Z on this particular issue? And people would say, I didn't know that. Yesterday I met some people who listen to MSNBC all day. Nothing wrong with MSNBC, but they're beholden to whoever pays the bills. And he was like, oh
the MS of NBC.
And they said I never thought about this way. This finance guy listened, and the kind of message that we give on Pacifica got to him. I mean, we are not going to change people overnight, but we offer them an option to think on their own. That's why we need Pacifica.
We do a lot of fundraising because we're listener sponsored, but I always say, even if you're not giving funds, or even if you are, tell your friends about Pacifica.
Absolutely.
And share the content that you hear there.
Absolutely.
It's so important.
And, you know, so, and not only share the content, but you said something that's important. A lot of people don't realize that if they give, we don't have to go elsewhere. We are only beholden to who?
You.
Listeners, to you. You are the ones that we are working for. So that's what we ask them to do.
I mean, and we're easily, you know, we're easily approachable too. I have people saying, hey, this is happening in the Bronx this week. Can you announce it? Yes, I can. This is happening over here. I think it's important. I try to crowdsource some of the things that are happening because local news has been destroyed.
Right.
And we need the voices of the people. And as you can see here at the conference, so many people are involved in doing so much good work.
Right.
So, you know, you don't hear that out there. It's all doom and gloom. Russiagate, let's hang all our hopes on Mueller, which, great. Any way we can take this down, I'm good.
Yeah.
But there are so many positive things happening out there that you just don't hear about, that I think it's really important that we get the voice of the people on the air so that we can talk about those
Juliana,
things.
you're so right.
Give some clarity to what's going on, some balance where there actually is balance that you don't hear on Main Street.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting because every year I come here, I interview, the big politicians and that sort of stuff. But the interviews that I really stress and I really try to get are the average person. So far I'm probably up to 40-something interviews. And the thing about it is I want to bring, I bring the big personalities like Julianna Forlano, but I also have the Muslim guy who is working in the community. He got an interview here. The woman who decided that she wanted to work on birth control, she is here. And because there are so many people doing so many things out there, they need a presence, and that's what we do.
Exactly. And I do want to say there's a shout out to Netroots Nation because it has launched many activists, it has launched many careers, it has launched many groups, and the kind of people that you meet here are all interested, they're all doing something, they're all active, and there's a lot of collaboration that happens, and it's really great.
Absolutely so. Julianna Forlano, look, it is a pleasure as usual.
It is a pleasure, and I'm glad to know you're out there on the other Pacifica sister station.
And I'm happy to have you at WBAI doing what you got to do.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Got it, girl.
This was so fun.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, we are coming close to the end of the show. That is Julianna Forlano, and you heard what she had to say about the Democrats, etc., and Trump and coming over. Let me run to my thing to see if I need to answer my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Well, I don't need to go back to what my brother Daniel Ledo said. I mean, Daniel Ledo revels in insulting me, and I enjoy it. I mean, if I ever get a compliment from Mr. Ledo, I'll probably faint. All right. Mike Cisak says, someone seems to be ignoring the big story of the day. Seems the Inspector General posted his investigation report saying that Comey violated the law with classified information. Cisak, that is not true. He violated no law. Otherwise, he would have been indicted. The information was not classified. Otherwise, he would have been indicted. Where are you getting your information from? Read the report. It's there for you to read. None of the information was classified at the time that he shared it. They went ahead after he shared it and classified it. He did not share classified information. I thought you were a bastion of telling the truth, my brother. That's not what the report said. Now, the report was excoriated, and of course it's done by Trump's department, but you know, they couldn't find anything legal to put on the guy, so the guy's walking free. If he had done, and folks, this is why you have to be careful with my brothers on the right. You have to be careful with the truth completely. Because if the man had done something right, an indictment would have come, and they would have thrown the book at him, and you know, that's all everybody would be talking about, that he did something illegal. What he did was not illegal. I repeat, was not illegal. It wasn't kosher. Remember, I don't have love for Comey because he likely caused a good amount of votes to get away from Hillary Clinton with that supposedly attack on her after he decided not to charge her. So progressives don't have any love for Comey, but don't put a lie out there like that. Anyhow, folks, we're at the end of the show, and before I go, I have to ask you, I have this new screen that I want to put up. Please, folks, this is a progressive show that needs your support. On the screen, you see it says, support independent media, Politics Done Right, at patreon.com/politics done right. I ask you to please go support us at patreon.com/politics done right. We do good work for you. We make sure to continue doing good work for you because that is the only way we are going to be able to get things done. That is the only way we are going to get things right. Again, folks, that is patreon.com/politics done right. Of course, you can also just go to politicsdoneright.com, right? And there are ways that we show you there how to go ahead and provide your support for the program. But we do need your support. So please go to Politics Done Right, or rather go to patreon.com/politics done right, or again, go to politicsdoneright.com. We are at the end of the program. I want to thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Without you, we simply could not make it. You are the ones that we work for. You are the ones that we will continue to work for because that is what we do. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.